There will never be one test that's going to predict all injuries. There's too many factors to consider. And so a more comprehensive approach seems like that would be reasonable. So what I love about the study that Mike Lair did here is he took the functional movement screen and added in the lower quarter Y balance test, another just standalone, reliable, and valid test that's shown predictability, and said, well, what if we do both those tests? Well, instead of just doing the FMS by itself, let's do that plus the Y balance test. And also let's take into consideration, maybe have you been hurt before, and do you currently have pain? And, we can now get at all those asymmetries as well as all those limitations on both the Y balance test and the FMS. And now we can actually create an algorithm, right? That we can weight, pain, asymmetries, movement limitations, previous injury, and it creates a nice way for us to categorize people, essentially. And so what's nice about what this algorithm does is when you put it into the Move to Perform software here, it will actually categorize you into one of 4 distinct classifications. You're either substantial deficit, meaning that you have a lot of risk factors, you have pain, you have a lot of issues, or you're all the way down into like an optimal category, meaning that you're doing pretty well. You don't really have a whole lot of risk factors and you're actually exceeding pretty well. And then you have the moderate and slight kind of in between there. But now you can kind of categorize folks. And so what Mike Lair did in his study was, he ran people through the FMS and the Y balance. Here's how they broke down as far as categorizing them using that algorithm. You see 26 people in substantial and 27 in optimal, and then several more in the between categories here. But what was very compelling to me is that he followed these folks out throughout their season and tracked who got hurt, who didn't. And look at how these statistics broke down. If you were in the substantial deficit category, 61% of those people ended up having a lost time injury, 30% in moderate, 16% if you were slight. And look, if you're optimal, you actually, nobody in that category had a significant lost time injury. So it really is very compelling data there that suggests that, man, if we can allocate people into a category, we may be able to make some decisions. Now, interestingly enough, like I always like to think about screening as a way for resource allocation, right? Like who needs the treatment, who needs the most help? Well, certainly I think we would all agree that substantial deficit and moderate deficit folks are really the folks that need the most resources and need the most attention. So in this particular study, he kind of, as a secondary analysis, he said, well, let's combine substantial and moderate together and call them just high risk. And that gives us a little bit more sample size, so a little bit more statistical power here to understand what's going on. And look what we found. People that were in the moderate or substantial deficit group had a relative risk of 3.4 times. That means they were 4.5 times more likely to go down with a non-contact injury if you were substantial or moderate risk. That's really powerful. But the key is it's not just the FMS, it's FMS plus Y balance, plus injury history, plus pain with movement, right? It's actually our first look at combining multiple things together that really we hadn't looked at before.